All right. Well, guys, welcome back to the Holy Huddle. Yeah, Ethan, I stole your spotlight. With yours
Yeah.
truly, Drew and Ethan.
I'm just enjoying my pizza, dog. You can take
While
me
he's
through
eating his
there.
pizza. He's gonna make me hungry.
But yeah. Uh, this week was a interesting week. A lot of close games. Some upsets, some not.
Yeah. I think one of the ones to mention though from last week was Florida State taking their first L of the season. And both quarterbacks had a whole lot of turnovers. Castellanos for Florida State only had one touchdown and 2 interceptions. Chandler Morris had 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So both quarterbacks had their struggles in that game.
But both quarterbacks are both dynamic dual threats. They both ran for at least a touchdown or 2 apiece.
Right. Yeah, Castellanos was 18 for 32, 254 yards. Morris was 26 of 35 for 229 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, both quarterbacks, both ran the ball pretty equally. Castellanos, 14 carries for 78 yards and a touchdown. Jamari Taylor had 27 carries for almost 100 yards and a touchdown. And then Deuce Robinson, one of Florida State's receivers, had 9 receptions for 147 yards and a touchdown. While Edgerrin, or Virginia, had 5 receptions for 45 yards.
Yeah. A really crazy ending to the game where Squirrel Wright kind of got trampled.
Oh my gosh. Woo! Yeah, I tell you what, I felt bad for him. They stormed that field. They didn't even care about him. They just left him to die.
Oh my goodness, bro. No, Squirrel White got buried there in Virginia. In memoriam.
4th down and 12 to keep the game alive. In overtime number 2. Here comes the blitz. Castellanos in trouble. Heaves one towards the end zone. Virginia has done it.
Yep.
In memoriam to Squirrel White, but
former Tennessee wide receiver. Should have stayed in Knoxville.
Should have, would have, could have. But Virginia gets a big win, and they're inside the rankings for some of the first.
You know what's crazy?
The first time in a while, yeah.
You know what's crazy? Virginia wasn't even in the top 40 before this game. I think they were out of the top 60, and they're already number 24.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can't, and we'll get to it in a little bit. But what I can't figure out, why the heck is Alabama number 10 and Florida State's number 18 when Florida State has a win over Alabama?
Doesn't make any sense. Florida State has the head-to-head.
I know. That doesn't make sense to me, but that's just me. And speaking on some team stats, so Florida State had 514 total yards of offense. Virginia had 440. Passing yards, Florida State passed for 258. Virginia passed for 229. Florida State ran the ball pretty well, 256 to 211 for Virginia. And then Florida State had 6.3 yards per play, and then Virginia had 5.2 yards per play.
Yeah.
So no defense whatsoever.
No defense at all.
Nope.
But lots of turnovers, so there was some defense in some type of way.
Right.
If you really think about it. A really physical game from Virginia. A lot of running.
Yeah. No, for sure.
And I don't know if I see them as a playoff contender right now, just because maybe that's a fluke upset win, but they are definitely a team to look out for.
Yeah. I still think Florida State is a team to beat still in the ACC.
Georgia Tech even struggled against Wake Forest a little this past weekend.
Yeah. No, for sure. But yeah, no, I wouldn't go as far saying Virginia is a playoff team or ACC.
No, but they're going to be ranked. I think they're going to be something to look at.
But I still think Florida State is one of the teams to beat. I still think they're one of the favorites to win the conference or compete for the conference. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's look at the next game. TCU Arizona State. TCU was leading for the longest time on Friday night until Sam Leavitt took it away. And they win on a game-winning field goal, winning by the same score that they beat Baylor by, 27-24.
Yeah. Well, I said earlier that this was a huge game for Arizona State, especially to get right in conference play. Both quarterbacks, Josh Hoover was 20 for 32, 242 yards and 2 interceptions.
He sort of choked down the stretch.
Yeah. Sam Leavitt was 27 for 39 for 291 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was really the difference in that game, I felt like.
Yeah, I totally feel. Yeah, Sam Leavitt's legs, man, he is a true dual threat.
Yeah.
He's gonna probably be a first round pick this year. He's
only he did that. Yeah, he did that.
Sophomore, that kind of mobility And being that good of a passer is kind of unheard of.
Well, he did that against Baylor a little bit because he led him on a pretty good drive. Sorry,
Yeah.
Ethan.
His legs are no, but Baylor can't. We don't run the QB contain very well.
Yeah, and then
but even Jordan Tyson, he threw his only 2 touchdowns to Jordan Tyson.
Yeah. And then in rushing yards, Trent Battle 9 carries for 30 yards and a touchdown for TCU, and then for Arizona State, Riley Brown 21 carries for 134 yards.
Yeah.
And then receiving yards, Joseph Manjack 6 receptions for 83 yards for TCU, and then Jordan Tyson, like you said, 8 carries. Or not 8 carries, 8 receptions for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Sun Devils.
And I sort of want to mention the interesting thing about TCU's Joseph Manjack is he wears no gloves, no sleeves. He just goes out there and plays. He's old school. He goes out there and catches the ball with his bare hands.
He just goes out and balls out, man.
Man, that's American grit right there if I've ever seen it.
Oh yeah. Hey,
built for
make America great again, baby.
But very old school football player, and that's nice to see, especially nowadays. But I think Arizona's still the top dog in the conference.
Oh yeah, for sure. I still think they're up there for the Big 12 championship later in the year. But some team stats real fast. So TCU, 269 total yards of offense. Arizona State had 498, so almost 500 yards. TCU passed the ball for 259. Sun Devils passed for 291. TCU rushed for 10 yards. The Sun Devils rushed for 207. And then TCU had 4.6 yards per play, and then the Sun Devils had 6 yards per play. So, yeah, TCU couldn't run the ball.
Yeah. Totally. TCU we'll see where that run game takes him. Josh Hoover, obviously a good quarterback, just had a bad sort of ending to the game.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
I was gonna say, I still think TCU. I still think is still up there in the Big 12.
But I think the rest of the season it's going to be either Arizona State or Tech. It's going to be Arizona, Texas Tech at A, and then we got to figure out who's B or whatever. Who is ever below them that can sort of challenge those two teams.
Well, and for Arizona State, they've already lost the game, but that was to a 4-1 Mississippi State team who seems to be getting better and better. They don't have any losses in conference play. I think aren't they 2-0 in Big 12 play? I think they're 2-0 in Big 12 play.
Yeah, they're 2-0 in Big 12 play right now.
So they're still they're pretty high up there. So they just keep winning, and they've already beaten Baylor on the road, which is a pretty good win. And then they beat TCU.
Yeah. Which brings me to another one of the games that we predicted. I want to go to the Iowa-Indiana game, and that was one of the strangest games I've seen all weekend. I thought
Iowa just has some kind of knack for somehow almost pulling off major upsets like that,
But they got the most winningest head coach in Big Ten history.
Yeah.
So they certainly know how to get those kind of things done. But Kirk Cinetti got the job done. In Iowa. That is a weird place to play. There's some weird voodoo magic going on. They must have summoned the corn wizard or something.
We don't like that witchcraft around here.
No, but that's what that game was.
Yeah. Yeah, Fernando Mendoza was 13 for 23, 233 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Mark Gronkowski for Iowa was 19 for 25, 144 yards, and an interception.
Yeah, Iowa's not really a passing offense. They've never been, in my opinion. That's why they've always had good tight ends, good running backs, etc. But yeah, Indiana escaped on the hair of their chinny chin chin. But I think Iowa is a team to look out for, especially at home. I think every time they play at home, it's going to be upset watch for the other team.
Oh, for sure. And Roman Hemby for Indiana had 15 carries for 86 yards. And then Kamari Moulton for Iowa had 18 carries for 75 yards. And then receiving, Elijah Sarrat for Indiana, 6 receptions, 132 yards, and a touchdown. And then for Iowa, Sam Phillips, 5 receptions for 64 yards.
And it was, I believe, Elijah Sarrat's 49-yard touchdown reception that sort of gave Indiana the boost they needed late in the game to sort of lift them above Iowa. But I still think Indiana's the team. They're one of the teams to look out for in making the playoff again. Because, you saw Illinois, they beat USC.
Yeah, by a field goal.
So, Indiana, they are the real deal.
Yeah, just the team stats real fast. So Indiana had 337 of total yards of offense. Iowa had 284 yards. Indiana had 233 passing. Iowa had 192 passing. Indiana ran the ball for 104 yards. Iowa ran for 92. Indiana had 5.4 yards per play, and Iowa had 4.1 yards per play.
Yep. Let's look at one of the next games that we predicted. Let's see.
Was it Ole Miss LSU?
Ole Miss LSU is another one of them, yeah.
Yeah.
And I called this one perfectly. Ole Miss got it done. I'm not surprised. I wasn't surprised. They're at home. In Trinidad Chambers, really an interesting story. Coming from like a Division II school, I believe, making it all the way up to D1 Ole Miss, playing at the biggest stage of football you can possibly be playing at the college level, goes and gets it done, goes and wins against probably one of the best teams in the country.
Well, and we've kind of hit on it a little bit too, but like, what does Lane Kiffin do with his quarterback situation?
I think Trinidad Chambers is honestly the guy for now.
Yeah.
Because Austin Simmons, I don't think Austin Simmons wins that game for them.
Yeah.
I don't.
I mean, yeah. But no, yeah, Ole Miss got a big win. I think that's Lane Kiffin's second win against an AP top 5 team in his tenure at Ole Miss already. Which I mean, other than Hugh Freeze back in the day, there hasn't really been a head coach to do that since Hugh Freeze and now Lane Kiffin. But yeah, Garrett Nussmeier was 20-34 for 197 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Trinidad Chambliss, 23-39, 314 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. And then Harlan Berry for LSU had 7 carries for 22 yards and a touchdown. K'Waun Lacy for Ole Miss had 23 carries for 87 yards and a touchdown. Zavon Thomas for LSU, 3 receptions for 63 yards. And then Caden Lee, 4 receptions and 70 yards and a touchdown for Ole Miss.
And I just sort of want to compare. I know I'll leave the team stats too, but I sort of want to look at this right here.
Yeah.
Garrett Nussmeier is supposed to have all this talent around him, supposed to be this Heisman level quarterback, correct? He was outgained 4 to 254.
Yeah.
Which is embarrassing.
And also not to mention too, I mean, look at the passing and rushing yards that LSU allowed.
The defense the defense was good, but Ole Miss's defense was better. They played better when they needed it, and that was a scrappy win for these Ole Miss Rebels.
Well, the score is kind of like a manipulation in a way, but because the score and the stats don't it doesn't really add up. Because to me, if you throw the ball for 314, you shouldn't just have 24 points. That's just me.
Yeah.
Or if you run the ball for 166 yards, same thing. And then for LSU, I gave you 254 of offense, but 197 passing yards. You didn't even pass for the ball for 200 yards, which that's a problem. And you ran the ball. Yeah. You ran the ball for 57 yards. That's a bigger problem. That means you weren't able to run the ball in a big SEC game, But again, Ole Miss is becoming a really tough place to play, especially with the kind of team that Lane Kiffin has been having there for the past couple of years. LSU, Kelly is supposed to, win these big games.
You did him at Notre Dame a lot. But I sort of want to mention an interesting little storyline I didn't mention earlier before when we were predicting this game. LSU's linebacker, Whit Weeks, is dating Lane Kiffin's daughter, Landry Kiffin. And on Twitter, Lane Kiffin jokingly said, "I'll take the over." And then he goes and interviews, he's like, "We got the over." I wonder if he'll say anything. I guarantee you Whit Weeks is not too happy about that.
Well, I don't know if Weeks was scared of Lane Kiffin on the sideline, but I saw him
throw up in the game. Like, oh my goodness! Like, what a great time to meet the parents, right? What a great time.
I'm guessing that.
Hey, meet my dad. He's the coach of the team you're playing next.
Either he had too many hottie toddies before the game, or that chicken parmesan really got to him.
Oh, the chicken parmesan definitely got to him.
And a hottie toddy.
It
doesn't really mix well.
No. Something wasn't sitting well with him, but
and nerves too, because his maybe future father-in-law was on the other sideline.
Yeah.
And then just some team stats real fast. LSU, 254 of total offense. Ole Miss 480. LSU 197 passing yards. Ole Miss at 314, 57 yards for LSU rushing the ball. Ole Miss ran the ball for 166 yards. LSU 4.5 yards to play, and then Ole Miss 5.7 yards to play.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think for LSU, especially going down their schedule, I wouldn't call that. Certainly, I wouldn't call the Ole Miss loss a bad loss, but they certainly need to, I guess, get their head together because the rest
Get
of
your
their
head in
schedule
the
is not.
game.
Yeah. And then
It's
for
like the High School Musical. I'm thinking of the High School Musical thing. Get your head in the game.
yeah,
But certainly.
for Ole Miss, it's just to continue momentum.
Keep building.
Yeah.
And so we'll sort of breeze through some of these games since we'll breeze through this game real quick. Tennessee and Mississippi State was a really close game, and I took Mississippi State thinking, oh man, I got a shot that they're gonna make this happen. Ultimately, it didn't happen, but
Yeah.
what a game, honestly. The rushing attack for Mississippi State was probably the main thing that really opens my eyes. 134 for 2 touchdowns for their running back.
Yeah.
And they won in overtime, Tennessee did. So it was definitely a great game. But Mississippi State, I could see them as a team that maybe wins 8-9 games. Maybe.
They are definitely a way different team than they were last year.
It's hard to recruit down there in Starkville, Mississippi. I don't know how you get people to come down there. I mean, it's kind of hard to recruit down there, in my opinion. And, Jeff Lebby has done an amazing job.
Well, I think the system that Jeff Lebby runs on offense is so hard to defend because they put that system that he runs puts up so many points like Tennessee or like Ole Miss. And so any team who plays them has to outscore them. It's gonna be hard to play, really good defense against Mississippi State, against any team that has to face them.
Yeah, and Tennessee's defense isn't very good. They've showed that the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well, and especially I remember watching the Georgia game a couple of weeks back. Their defense at the end of it just was gassed. I mean, they didn't have anything left. They didn't have anything left in the tank.
Yeah, for sure.
They just got out physical. So, I don't know if you want to go over team stats real fast or
we can do that really quick.
Okay. Joey Aguilar, 24 for 40, 335, touchdown, 2 interceptions. Blake Shapen at 18 of 29, 180 yards, touchdown and interception. Deshaun Bishop for Tennessee, 11 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown. Fluff Boltwell for Mississippi State, 23 carries for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. Mike Matthews, 6 receptions for 118 yards for Tennessee. And then Aiden Williams for Mississippi State, 1 reception for 49 yards. And then team stats overall, Tennessee, 466 of total offense. Mississippi State, 378. Tennessee, 335 passing yards. Mississippi State, 180 passing, 131 yards rushing for Tennessee, 198 for Mississippi State, and then 6.5 yards of play compared to 4.4 Tennessee and Mississippi State.
Yeah.
And then
for sure.
And then one more game from last week, I guess.
The game of the week
was
Penn State versus Oregon. A phenomenal game. That game was probably one of the great best games to watch the entire season. James
Franklin what is he?
He can't win a big game. He can't win a big game. What did I say?
Yep.
You gotta know at this point. He wins the easy games. Any head coach can win the easy games. But what makes you a great head coach is winning those hard games. Not all of them, but winning the ones that truly do matter. And this is one of the ones that truly mattered. At home, against a top 10 opponent, and you didn't get the job done because your quarterback threw an interception to end the game, and you had it in your hands. All you had to do was score a touchdown and get the extra point and get the 2-point conversion.
Yep.
But you blew it.
Yep.
Drew Allard obviously is probably the one to take the blame for this. He threw that crucial interception at the end of the game. Otherwise, playing a really good game.
Yeah. And all the hype from game day to the crowd to whiteout, and then Oregon just decides to, give the Nittany Lions their first loss.
Yeah, and Dante Moore. I really love Dante Moore. Dante Moore looks really good.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns, 29 of 39, 248.
And the play calling, I think, was spot on. I saw a couple shovel passes mixed in there. It really was a well-executed game by Oregon.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Rushing yards, Dira Hill, 10 carries, 82 yards. Dockerin Moore for Oregon, 7 receptions for 89 yards.
Yeah, DeCorian Moore is a true freshman, guys. Keep that in mind.
So definitely a name to watch out for. And then, Drew Allard, 14 to 25, 137, 2 touchdowns, interception. Katron Allen, 12 carries for 54 yards and a touchdown. Monte Ross, 4 receptions, 48 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, yeah. And then some team stats for Oregon. So 424 total yards of offense. They had 276. Passing yards for Oregon, 248 to 137. 176 rushing yards for Oregon to 139. And then 5.4 yards of play for Oregon compared to 4.6 yards play for Penn State.
Yeah.
So
a very even game, and the only turnover of the game was that very last moment, which otherwise that was one of the cleanest games of football I've ever watched.
Yeah. No, for sure. And for Oregon, I mean, that only just strengthens their resume. But for Penn State, that was a huge missed opportunity. Like that was prime position to put yourself really on the national stage, and they just couldn't do it again.
They couldn't do it. The Nittany Lions choked again, which brings us to next week's slate of games. And we didn't really discuss this, so we're in a new territory here. And the first game I really noticed that I will kind of see is 4-1 Virginia versus 4-0 Louisville in Louisville. I mean, let's just go ahead and look at this game.
Yeah.
So I look at this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Well,
I was about to say Louisville's at home. They're undefeated, so that's good for them. Virginia's number 24, coming off a big win against Florida State. You know, who do you have a good feel for?
You know, Miller Moss. You remember that name, the quarterback from USC last year? That's where he's playing now. But you know, he hasn't really been the best quarterback. He's looked really inefficient. 86 completions to 130 with those. That's not very efficient. I'm looking at a very strong run game and a very decent defense. The number 5 offense in the country, keep in mind, from Virginia. I really love Virginia to take this one in Louisville.
You like Virginia, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you. I like Virginia, especially coming off a win against Florida State at home. I think they carry that momentum. I think Louisville is a good team. They're 4-0, but I think the Cavaliers take business away from the Cardinal down Louisville. And I think number 24 goes up in the rankings.
Yep, and we were just sort of discussing this beforehand. The game you sort of wanted to look at was Texas and Florida. Texas and Florida at the Swamp. This is a real opportunity to see Florida get going. This is an opportunity for Arch Manning against a true SEC opponent.
This game to me really is one of the just really interesting because first off, Texas is playing their first game in the SEC this year. They played Ohio State and they played San Jose State, Sam Houston, and UTEP. So they've really they play competition, but not SEC competition yet. And they got to go on the road to the Swamp. Meanwhile, Florida, their only win is against Long Island, who had maybe half the team that Florida did. And, they go on the road. They lose a tough one to Florida. They get pounded by Miami. And it's, for Billy Napier, you got to wonder, when is enough? And so, who's your big, who you got in this one?
I think Florida has a really good defense. I genuinely think they're going to give Arch some issues, at least early on. But I definitely think the Longhorns, definitely the more experienced, the more talented team. Yeah. So I really love Texas to take this one in the Swamp.
Okay. All right. Well, I agree with you. I think Arch, he's already been in a tough environment at Ohio State. They're already 3-1. If they want to be in contention for an SEC championship, it would it'd hurt a little bit more to be 3-2 and 0-1. But for Billy Napier, DJ Lagway's had a couple of turnovers, but they're going to be in the Swamp at 2:30. Every quarterback has their breakout game. Even though DJ Lagway's had a couple of turnovers, just like Arch Manning has, you know what? I'm taking the upset. I'm taking Gators to beat the Longhorns, and Billy Napier gets a huge win at home and gets Florida maybe with some momentum going forward. Give me the Gators.
You think Lagway gets the offense to finally click? You really think so?
I think especially at home. I think DJ Lagway just I just think Florida, just enough is enough, and I think Billy Napier. I finally feel like the message gets across, and the Gators get a big one at home.
Okay, I love that. And then we're gonna look at this Miami Florida State game,
Yeah.
which is another big game in ACC play. We're showing the ACC a lot of love today so far.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Everybody loves the Atlantic Coastal Conference.
Oh yeah.
But this is going to be played at Doak Campbell Stadium at Florida State. This is a huge game for Mike Norvell and his team, especially going against the number 3 team, Miami Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are definitely back for sure. What do you got and who do you got in this game?
Well, this is a top 20 showdown. Miami comes in number 3 in the country. Florida State's number 18. Both teams have really good quarterbacks. Give me the Hurricanes and the Big U to go up to Tallahassee, but then the spear comes down. Seminoles, after an upset loss, Mike Norvell gets a big-time win, and they upset the Hurricanes.
And you're going all upsets this week. I don't feel
Give
like
me the Seminoles. Give me the Seminoles.
Can you give us a little shot?
Well, I'm sure my friend Caden would appreciate this.
Whoa!
Oh.
That's impressive. I look at Miami. I look at Florida State. I look at one of the best running games in the country when it comes to Florida State. I know Florida State has the best run game in the country, but this Miami defense is on a whole different level of different this year. They held Florida to 6 points. They held Notre Dame to low scoring amounts. Carson Beck is looking better than ever. He's carving up defenses. He's doing an amazing job. Thomas Castellanos, yeah, he may be at home, but I expect the U to go and take this one away.
You got the U. You got the U.
Yes, sir.
Where's Michael Irvin?
Too busy celebrating on the sidelines. Have you seen some of his viral celebrations where he's just so excited?
Yeah. 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 All right. Awesome. And that game will be at 6:30. So, yeah, a lot of people will be seeing that one. Let's see. Which other game would you? Let's see.
Game. You know what? We'll show A&M some love. I know they're playing a big game against Mississippi State.
Okay, showing A&M some love. Okay.
I'll give y'all the benefit of the doubt this week.
Okay.
It's at Kyle Field. Mississippi State's 4-1, 0-1 in SEC play. Y'all A&M are 4-0, 1-0 in SEC play. Start off.
Yeah.
A&M is starting out at a heavy 16.5-point favorite. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of that betting line, but
yeah. I'm just gonna say that I'll say this for a lot of Aggie fans. If we only score 16 points like we did last week, it's not gonna be a good thing. But I will say that last week the defense did show up for A&M, but Mississippi State's always given A&M problems. They're like Auburn. They're always one of those teams that's like they're like a fly. You just try and swat it away, and they just won't go away. But it's at home. It's at Kyle Field. I think Marcel Reed has a better game than he did last week. Give me the Aggies. Give me.
Was there any doubt for you? Was there any doubt for you in that decision?
In the decision I just made?
Yeah, in the pick you just made. There's no doubt.
There's no doubt. I think
whatsoever.
we win.
Okay.
I think Mississippi State might put up some.
I look at a phenomenal receiver in Mario Craver, honestly carrying Marcel Reed's passing stats. Let's just be honest. You know.
Yeah. And Concepcion.
Yeah. They have been quite the dynamic duo at receiver. But I also look at Mississippi State, who's had a insane offense. They've been well-rounded as well. You know, A&M has a really good defense. And especially they're playing at home, they're going to rally behind that defense. So I just want to say this to cover my whatever, because I know my family watches these episodes and they know how the whole A&M family tree beef goes or whatever. I say Mississippi State makes it a really close game, but A&M takes the butter.
Fair. Yep.
And then the game of the week, I would have to say, Alabama and Vandy. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that it would be Vandy and Alabama? You know, it's sort of one of those weird matchups to me because, you know, Vandy gave up 35 points to Utah State. I really don't think, you know, they're the best looking team for that, but I see a really high powered offense, you know, but I did not expect Alabama to win last week. Like you said, they would. You know, that's sort of something I didn't expect. I think Vandy is the reason to be has a reason to be the underdog here. I think their defense sucks, plain and simple. Let's just be honest. I can cut a butter knife through their defense. Alabama's offense really picked it up last week against Georgia. And I see Ty Simpson, who hasn't thrown an interception all season. I see him dominating Vanderbilt. And I see Alabama to go way over them and win. Roll Tide, baby.
Roll Tide. All right. Well, Vanderbilt comes in probably their highest ranking in over 90 years. I'm just going to guess that. They're 5-0 for the first time in like 80 years, I think. And then Alabama is just number 10, above Florida State, who they've lost to, which, it's okay. That's fine. No big deal. But Diego Pavia is going to try and pull a Johnny Football back in 2012. Johnny Football then trying to mentor, I guess, Pavia and going to Tuscaloosa and trying to beat Alabama. It's true. But at the end of the day, Mark Lee and the Commodores are going to come anchored down. But you know what? Tide! Roll! Give me Alabama in the Kalen DeBoer era. Get a big win at home against Vanderbilt. They've got the Bear, the GOAT, and now DeBoer.
And that concludes our episode of the Holy Huddle. Thank y'all for tuning in.
Yeah.
Without always, this is Ethan Mailer signing off.
Let's go.